lovelies, it's Gretchen. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video, I wanted to play around with the newest palette from Nomad Cosmetics. It is the Keys Beachy and Peachy palette. This was just released not too long ago. And can we just look at those colors? They are perfect for summertime. And so as you can see, I played around with some of the yellows today, which if you do not know, yellow eyeshadow is probably my favorite to play with because it just makes me so happy. It's such a happy color. On top of doing like a little get ready with me, I discuss some of the books that I have read so far in 2024. I have read 41 books up until this point because we are halfway through the year. As of the time of me recording this video, it is June 30th. Y'all will see it beginning of July, but it is now officially halfway through the year. So I thought I'd touch on some of the best books that I've read so far and some of the worst books that I've read so far. So if you want to get ready with me yourself, just kind of chill out together while I discuss some books, then keep watching. Hello, lovelies. Welcome to a get ready with me. I know I just did a get ready with me somewhat recently, but I really wanted to do one today because I want to use the newest palette from Nomad Cosmetics. I love this. This is so perfect for summertime. It is called the Keys Beachy and Peachy palette, and when I tell you, this screams summertime. Look at those colors. I'm so excited. I have already played with this a little bit. I've used some of the peachy colors, but today I am going to focus on the yellows because yellow eyeshadow makes me so incredibly happy. I don't know what it is. I think it's just because yellow is such a happy color, and I really just want to do a yellow eyeshadow look today. So I'm going to be using Sunrise Salute, Contra Public, and Far From Normal. And I thought with today's Get Ready With Me, I'd also talk about some books that I've read. As y'all probably have noticed, I have added a little bit more bookish related content within my videos recently. A little background, just kind of a recap. I actually have my master's degree in library and information science. I was a school librarian for 3 years. Then I realized K through 12 setting was not for me. But I was a high school librarian for 2 years, a middle school librarian for 1 year. Middle school is something. But I do have a love of books, but I kind of had a falling out with books once I stopped being a librarian. I don't know what it was. I think I just hated the job so much that anything connected with it, I was like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want anything to do with it. But I have recently refound my love for books. And as of recording this video, which is the last day of June, so June 30th, I have read, I believe, 41 books this year, whereas my goal was 52 books, so I am well ahead of schedule. I have to look at my Goodreads. Yep, 41 books. I thought it was gonna be 40, but I squeezed one in yesterday. Kind of wild to think that I've read 41 books up until this point, but I thought while I did a fun makeup look, I could talk to you all about some of the books that I've read this year. Not all 41, because we don't have time for that. If you've been around on the channel for a while, you know that my ADHD be ADHD and at times, and I can't always focus while doing my makeup, especially when I do the eyeshadow. I don't know what it is, but when I'm trying to do eyeshadow, I guess it's because the rest of my face makeup is the same all the time. So I haven't used one of these hair wraps to pull my hair away from my face in so long. I'm like, ooh, the Velcro is like sticking to my head. Okay, it's like pulling my hair. We're just gonna have to make that work. Ignore the 5 head. She's on full display right now. I probably, because I'm gonna be talking about the books, I'm probably not gonna go over each product that I use. However, I will, if you are curious what I use. Might be able to see it while I'm using it, but I will also list it in the description below if you are curious. So, like I said, I have read 41 books this year. A lot of those are audiobooks, and I don't care what anyone says, audiobooks count. Do I listen to them at a pretty high speed? Yes. I think the first one that I did, I listened to it at the regular speed because I didn't realize you could up the speed. I think that was the only one where I listened to it at a regular speed, but it took forever. I also listened to a lot of books during my cosmetic tattooing program because to the class was an hour 5 drive or so. It was roughly an hour drive one direction. So in discussing the books that I've read this year, I thought I would go over some of my favorites that I've read so far and some of my not so favorites that I've read so far. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel awful for the ones that I don't like. Well, actually, no. There are two that I don't feel awful for not liking. But for everything else, I feel bad for. Honestly, most of the books that I've read, I have enjoyed. I do believe my average rating is a 3 out of 5. Sometimes I will give like a half star, so I'll say like a 3.5 as opposed to just a regular old 3. But for the most part, I kind of stick with the rounded rating. So I have had several 5-star books this year. I'm not one of those people that's gonna go out and write this long review. I'm just, look, if I like a book, I like a book. If I don't like a book, well, that's unfortunate. If there are some books that I really feel strongly about, I will write a review for. I mean, there are even some books at this point that I haven't written a review for, and I do plan to go back and write one just because I'm like, I need to get my feelings out. So the first 5-star read of my year was One Last Stop by, who was it by? Casey McQuiston. I always feel like I'm saying her name wrong. And this was a really cute story about a girl named August. She moves to New York. She's young. She ends up meeting Jane on the subway. Well, every time she gets on the subway, Jane is always there. Somehow, Jane was misplaced in time from like the 1970s, and so she's like stuck on the subway. And so it's just this really cute romance about August and Jane. August is trying to help Jane basically get unstuck because Jane cannot leave the subway. Every time she tries to leave the subway, it just kind of plops her back into it. It's this whole story about these two who fall in love. They develop a connection. They try and break the time warp, what have you, so that Jane can either go back to her time or be in present time with August. So it's one of those things where it's like August grapples with, do I want to potentially lose Jane forever? Because if she breaks out of this time loop that she's in, will she go back to the 1970s or will she be here with me? It's very cute. Pretty steamy. Loved it. It was also one of the first books that I read this year. And it was just super, super sweet. I really enjoyed it immensely. Really liked the characters a lot, especially Jane, particularly her style. I really thought that was such a cute novel. Next 5-star read, which this was the first audiobook. So I did listen to this one at normal speed before I realized, oh, you can actually speed it up and get it done faster. But this one was First Lie Wins. This was also my first true introduction to thrillers and kind of jump-started my absolute love for thrillers. Typically, I'm a romance contemporary girly with some fantasy thrown in there, but I have found that I really enjoy thrillers, really enjoy them. And this audiobook was so good. Essentially, it's about this character who is not who she says she is. That's kind of her job, is to take identities and be a new person so that she can do whatever it is her boss needs her to do. But then she's in this one life that she really likes and she's like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. So it's basically just like her grappling with well, this is not actually me, but I want this life. And I want out of the life that I'm currently dealing with. How do I do that? It was so good. The narrator did an excellent job for audio on that one. I ate it up. I think I started listening to it when I was driving to a concert that I was photographing, and I adored it. It was so good. So if you are like me and you're like, thriller's not really your genre that you typically gravitate toward, I would 10 out of 10 recommend First Lie Wins. And it's a new book. It came out this year. So I would personally recommend it. It was so good. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go do my eyeliner and mascara because I'm not good on camera with it. I usually hunker down so you can't see me. So I'll be right back. All right, I have put on some mascara and a wing that became bigger than I planned. I also have to clean it up a little bit because they were not only not twins and not sisters, I'm not sure they were in the same family at all. Maybe cousins twice removed or something. So I had to clean it up a little bit. But anyway, so next on best reads so far is Part of Your World. Oh my God. That book It was so cute. So that was an audiobook that I did, and the narrators did such a good job. Oh my God. So Part of Your World, you have Alexis Montgomery, who, big time doctor. She gets stranded in a small town. She meets Daniel Grant, and oh my God, can I just say Daniel? He's so cute. I'm just in love. It becomes one of those things where after this chance encounter, Alexis spends more time in the small town. It's very Hallmark-esque. I will say it's very Hallmark coded, if you will. It's one of those things where it's like, big time city doctor winds up in small country town. She starts falling for this guy in small country town. Will she give up the life that she has known in the big city to be with the man of her dreams? You know, things like that. It's very Hallmark coded. But you know what? It was well done. Because there are some books where the big Hallmark coding does not work. And in fact, it kind of makes you want to pull your eyelashes out. This one is not one of those books. This one, it was so well done. I legit was like kicking my feet and just giddy the entire time. It is so good. And then leading into that was yours truly, which is book 2 in the Part of Your World series, which also ended up being a 5-star read for me. So this one follows, and you don't have to read the books in order. However, it does help because you see characters from the first book show up in the second book. And so this one follows Alexis's friend, Brianna, and new resident doctor, Dr. Jacob Maddox. I really like this book a lot, not just because of the romance aspect, like, continued. Abby Jimenez, you have got me kicking, squealing, just all over the place. But I felt like she did a really good job of portraying anxiety in that book because Jacob suffers from crippling anxiety, especially in situations and just not knowing how to properly respond to people. He overthinks everything. He's exhausted from social outings. It was so well done how she described his feelings and like what he was going through in certain situations. I just really connected with him a lot. He was another one where I'm just like, you are so precious. Let me just, you're so cute. I loved the dynamic between Brianna, I'm forgetting now the correct pronunciation. I thought the dynamic between them was so good. You also get to see Alexis and Daniel from the first book in that one, so they are connected. There is a third book just for the summer. I have it. I have not read it yet. Because I did audiobook for these other two, I will probably do audiobook again for that one just because those other two were so well done. So both of those. Abby Jimenez is my current favorite author just because of how amazing those books were. Like, oh my God, they had me squealing and just like, it was so good. It was so good. And then my next 5-star rated book was The 7-Year Slip. Another kicking it and screaming and squealing and just being absolutely giddy. This book was so cute. And then there are moments where you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, no. And there's just, it's so cute. So basically you have Clementine, who is a book publicist who is kind of overworked and everything. She ends up inheriting her aunt's apartment in New York City. While she's moving in and things like that, all of a sudden, some dude is there. And she's like, excuse me, hello? They kind of have a little bit of like a, what are you doing here? What are you doing here moment. Turns out he's a chef and he's moved to New York to try and make a name for himself, make a start. But then it turns out that she figures out that he is from the past, specifically 7 years in the past, because her aunt always told her that the apartment was magical and she had a friend that she would, not a ghost mind you, but had a friend that she would encounter every so often in the apartment. And it turns out that, you know, there was a time distance, they were from the past. So Clementine and this guy, Ewan, the guy's name is Ewan, they developed this kind of relationship with each other, And so it gets to a point where it's like Clementine is trying to find current time Ewan, because again, the one that she knows is 7 years in the past. So she's trying to find current time Ewan. It's like that whole journey of like trying to meet up with him after knowing him from the past, and he's only known her from the past and doesn't know anything about like current time Clementine. I'm doing a really poor job of explaining it, but it was so cute. It was so cute. I'm also a sucker for any book that has the main character working in the publishing industry. I don't know why. I think it's because I always wanted to work in the publishing industry, and I still like the idea of it, even though now I'm like opening my own business, so there goes that. So I've like always liked that idea. Anytime I see a book where a character is involved in the publishing field, I'm like, yes, gimme, 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 gimme. So those are the, I'd say the top books for me so far this year. I really cannot wait to read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, because I loved Part of Your World and Yours Truly so much. They were so good. Like, I'm kind of scared that Just for the Summer is not going to be as good, just because I have been let down in that capacity before, where it's like some other books in the series were so good, and then all of a sudden you read this one, you're like, that's not the same. That might be my next read, because again, I just finished a book yesterday, which has made my worst list. I'll get into it though. So I thought I'd go over some of the worst books that I've read this year. I didn't have a bottom 5. I have a top 5, but I didn't have a bottom 5. So I think there's only like 4 books that I consider my worst of the year. So starting off strong, coming in at 2 stars, was Haunting Adeline. Look, I'm not gonna judge y'all for those that like Haunting Adeline. I'm not gonna judge y'all. I'm not. Maybe a little. Yes, the smut was smutting to a point. Look, the characters, the main character, Adeline, she's dumb. Her friend, who I cannot remember her name right now, also dumb. I'm baffled by it, but at the same time, I am so intrigued about reading Haunting Adeline. Why? If I didn't like Haunting Adeline, why would I like Haunting Adeline any better? Especially since most people say that it's like 10 times as intense as Haunting Adeline. So like, why would I want to spend time reading it, you know? I also am like genuinely curious about the audio version of it, but I'm also scared that I'm gonna be driving to the grocery store one day and all of a sudden I'm gonna hit a scene and I'm just like, that is not a keep your windows down kind of read. You know, you're out there trying to enjoy the warmth of summer with your windows down, the breeze in your hair, and all of a sudden he starts talking about, you know, shoving a pew-pew in a place that doesn't belong. So I don't know if I'll do the audio version. I do currently have Haunting Adeline, the second book, on my Kindle because it was free, Kindle Unlimited, but I don't know if I'm actually gonna go through with reading it or not, because it kind of scares me, the thought process of it. So yes, that was my first bad book of the year. Next up was a huge disappointment for me because I like this author. And so next up is Never Lie by Frida McFadden, also 2 stars. And the thing that gets me is so many people really like that book. And I'm like, I must have, again, this was an audiobook. Either I read or listened to a completely different book than everyone else, or it just wasn't my cup of tea. But I'm leaning toward the fact that I did not vibe with the narrator. I actually don't remember who it was now, because there are some audiobook narrators that I absolutely adore. Julia Whelan, you are a goddess. I'm thinking that's what it is I just did not like or vibe with the narrator. All I know is I thought the writing for that particular book was atrocious. And don't get me wrong, Frida McFadden books, I really enjoy them. Are they works of literary art? No, in my opinion. But they are really fun thrillers. And I guess my thing is I like thrillers because I am so bad at guessing them. I'm so bad at guessing who done it, or who is doing it, or anything like that. I never get it right. So I think that's why I enjoy thrillers so much. Most of McFadden's books I give like a 3-star because they're fun. They're not anything mind-blowing. I did give The Housemaid and the second one, which that one's called. I did give those 4 stars. The other McFadden books that I've read, I've given 3 stars, and then Never Lie, I've given 2 stars. I don't know what it is, because it seems like everyone who's read several of her books really likes that one. And I'm like, did I read a completely different book? What did I miss there that everyone else got? There was that one. If anyone's read that book, like, maybe you can fill me in why you may like it. Maybe I need to try it again. I don't know. All right. Don't judge me for the fact that I read this one, okay? So next up on my worst list is Credence. It's the only book that I have given a 1 star to. And I read the entire thing. I did. I stuck it out and I read the entire thing. I question myself why I did that. Everyone's like, oh my God, that smut is so good. It wasn't even that great. Look, I know they're her, like, step uncle and step cousins, but it's still when you toss that family label onto it and you're like, oh yeah, she, you know, her step cousins, her step uncle. Like, I know they're not related by blood, but that is still weird. I didn't like it. Also, the writing was not great. If anything, it read like weird fanfic. Like, y'all remember how, what was it, 50 Shades of Grey technically is Twilight fanfic? That's how this read. Not specifically Twilight, but it just felt like it was supposed to be fanfic for something. I don't exactly know what, but it felt like it was fanfic for something. Like I said, I've only had like 4 not so great books this year. So the 4th one is the one I actually just finished yesterday, and I was kind of surprised at how much I disliked it. Now again, audiobook. I don't think it was, well actually no, that's a lie. It could potentially be that I wasn't vibing with one of the narrators. Actually, it could be I wasn't vibing with either narrator. So that book was Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Now if you've watched any of my vlogs, you know that I have been struggling with Ali Hazelwood's books recently. I have been trying since I think April to read Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I'm still on chapter 4 and I just cannot get past it. I don't know why. So this one is her newest book. Also, I have to agree with some people. If you were putting out multiple books in a year, I do believe that it's going to affect the quality of your writing. Now again, I have never read an Ali Hazelwood book in its entirety yet. This is my first one. From what I can gather, this book is not like her other ones. From what I can gather, her books are kind of formulated similarly to Emily Henry's books, where it's like mostly romance. You have like one schmexy scene and then more romance. That was not at all how Not in Love was. In fact, there was more schmexy time than anything. It was badly written schmexy time. So if you don't know Ali Hazelwood's premise, other than I think Bride doesn't kind of follow that formula, but it's always about STEM. You have women in STEM, and then there's romance. Well, this, you know, it dealt with women in STEM, and there was, I guess, romance. I don't know. Also, I'm usually like, enemies to lovers is my favorite trope. This was poorly executed, enemies to lovers. Poorly executed. It was, no, stop. I don't know. I also felt like the characters themselves, Rue, the main female character, she had about as much personality as a wet blanket. And then you have Eli, who could not stop talking or thinking about his yuck. I'm probably gonna have to censor that even though I said it weird. And I'm just like, y'all, you know what? Maybe y'all do deserve each other, because I would not want to be in a room with y'all. Y'all got some weird energy. I'm not here for it. What the fudge? So I actually ended up finishing that book in a day because I wanted it to be over with. And again, I have a real hard time DNFing a book. I have not DNF'd a book yet. However, Bride is getting close because I feel like I'm just gonna have to start over. I'm only 4 chapters in, so I'm not that far. But also I'm waiting for my eyelashes to dry. But yeah, I was very disappointed because I know a lot of people really like Ali Hazelwood's books. I personally am not, like, I get why people are like, ooh, I love the women in STEM concept. Math, science, and I are not a trio. We're not a trio. We don't get along at all, especially in the math department. English literature, give me that all day. Do not give me any of that math, science stuff. I don't want it. I'm bad at it. So like, that's not something that I'm gonna be like, oh my God, yes. But I still will enjoy it, most likely. This one I did not enjoy. This one, I might be willing to give this one a 2.5, but again, I very rarely do the 0.5 rating. Maybe I went wrong by starting with this one. This one just came out in June, so it's a brand new one. So yeah, those are some of the best and worst books that I have read so far in 2024. We all have different opinions, taste on things. Again, I want to know what I was missing with Never Lie. I don't need to know what I was missing with Credence. I know there are some diehard fans out there. I don't need to know what I was missing with that. No, thank you. I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need to know what I was missing with that. I do need to look ahead at some books coming out later this year, because I'm sure there are some that are probably on my TBR that I don't realize when exactly they're coming out. It'll just be like, here's this book, and I'm like, oh yeah. We've chatted about books, we've done makeup. I'm obsessed with this yellow. It is absolutely stunning. I do need to put some lipstick on though. I think for lips, I'm actually gonna do my favorite combo recently, which is from Curst Cosmetics. It's the Spell Liner in, well, I forgot what it was in. It'll be listed below. But then also the lip gloss in Bear. I do like that combination a lot. And there we go. There's the final look using Nomad Cosmetics' newest palette, the Beachy and Peachy palette, which is so perfect for the summertime. We got to chat a little bit about some books. Let me know in the comments below what are some books that you've read this year, whether you liked them or not. Just drop some books that you've read so I can look into them. And I personally am very happy with how this look turned out. There's something about yellow eyeshadow, and also it's fitting that I wore this choker today, my little sunflower one, because it's perfect. Also, when in doubt, toss on some false lashes. Though I will say my false lashes always sit kind of strange on my eyes. This one always like flips upward and this one goes out. Is it my eye shape? Probably. And so that is the final look using Nomad Cosmetics' newest palette, the Beachy and Peachy palette. Again, perfect for summertime. I cannot get over these. I really want to do a fun look. They posted some different color schemes to use, and they posted like Sunset Celebration mixed with Key West, and I really want to try that look because I just feel like that's gonna be so vibrant and so in your face. But for today's look, I wanted to do a more kind of subtle, muted look, and again, yellow eyeshadow just makes me incredibly happy. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, not only doing makeup, but discussing some of the books that I've read this year. Again, let me know in the comments below. If you're a reader, let me know some books that you've read this year. If you're not a big reader, believe me, I get it. Like I said, I was in a reading rut for many years and I'm just now getting back into it. So I get it if it's kind of something that you're not really into. I personally am just very excited to be back into reading because it was something that I genuinely used to enjoy. Then I fell away from it, but now I'm back. So yeah, mixing two things that I really love, makeup and reading. And as a reminder, I do have YouTube memberships. So if you would like some extra content, behind the scenes looks, early access to anything, so be sure to check out those perks if that's something you're interested in. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to go down there, hit that subscribe button, as well as that notification bell so YouTube will let you know when I upload next. But until next time, bye lovelies.